The Great Pyramid sits on the Giza Plateau as a silent monument. For millennia, onlookers have projected their own cultural baggage onto these stones. The most enduring story comes from ancient Greek historian Herodotus, a narrative that Hollywood later adopted. It claims this structure was beaten into existence by an enslaved, starving workforce, driven by the crack of a whip. Moving 6 million tons of stone without iron tools or the wheel requires a rate of placement that raw manpower alone sustain over decades. Organizing a project of this magnitude demands a highly specialized, overarching logistical infrastructure. Decades of recent archaeological work are finally clearing the sand away from that infrastructure, shifting our focus from the massive stones to the supply chain that moved them. To see how this worked, you have to turn your back to the pyramid and look out toward the horizon. Building the king's tomb meant operating the largest, most complex, and most intricate continent-spanning machine of the Bronze Age. The monument at Giza stands as the physical byproduct of a massive national engine. The entire system relied on utilizing the annual, seasonal flooding of the Nile River. Every summer, heavy seasonal rains in the highlands would swell the river until it swallowed the surrounding valleys. This paused agricultural work, freeing up a massive, predictable workforce of farmers unable to tend their crops. The floodwaters reconfigured the landscape, creating a system of canals functioning as a hydraulic lift. This allowed cargo ships to deliver colossal stones directly to the plateau. The Nile's natural cycle dictated construction timelines, acting as the engine for the entire supply chain. That supply chain stretched to the extreme edges of the empire to gather raw materials. For the inner chambers, engineers required a 500-mile journey down the Nile to harvest heavy granite from the quarries at Aswan. Carving millions of limestone blocks quickly blunted soft copper chisels. Resupplying that metal meant mounting mining expeditions across the Red Sea into the Sinai Peninsula. Reaching Sinai required a logistical workaround, transport ships held together by ropes instead of nails. Because the ships were stitched together, work crews could dismantle them, carry the planks 150 miles across the desert, and reassemble them to sail for copper. They conquered immense geographic barriers through advanced modular engineering. Discovered in 2013, the Wadi el-Jarf papyri belonged to an ancient overseer named Merer. These fragments provide the first-hand receipts for this network. His logbooks act as ancient spreadsheets, tracking his crew as they shipped white casing limestone directly to Giza. All of these supply lines converged at man-made basins dug into the Giza Plateau, terminating right at a highly structured worker city. Excavations here show laborers operating industrial bakeries. Bone analysis reveals they ate a calorie-dense, high-protein diet, receiving the meat equivalent of a quarter-pounder every single day. This was a well-cared-for, highly organized national workforce, operating within a sophisticated institutional hub. Supplying the workforce externally gave the architects the freedom to solve extreme physics problems. They iterated through trial and error, learning from the architectural failures of past pharaohs, like the dangerously steep, abrupt angle of Sneferu's bent pyramid. Khufu's engineers faced their ultimate test deep inside the Great Pyramid. They needed to ensure the flat ceiling of the king's tomb wouldn't be crushed by millions of tons of solid rock bearing down. They built a stack of 5 empty spaces directly above the tomb, lined with granite and topped with a gabled roof. That angled roof deflects the downward stress away from the flat ceiling of the king's chamber, channeling the pressure into the core masonry. The pyramid stands today as a heavily over-engineered machine, built on decades of practical research. Adjusting for population, the number of workers drawn into this interconnected supply web equals recruiting 10 million modern-day Americans for one project. Coordinating labor on that scale forced the invention of standardized national accounting, shipping channels, and centralized logistics. The logistical network created for Khufu's tomb became the permanent infrastructure for a unified civilization. Khufu's construction project served as a relentless economic engine. The logistical triumph of the pyramid built the nation of Egypt.